are live. Hey, Jordan.
Hello. It still has on Instagram. There's like a 2-second lag. We're about to be.
2-second lag.
Okay, now we're good.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? That's good. So I actually, this works. So I have you're live up on my phone, so we can look at comments.
Okay. All right. We are experimenting with a new format for this live. So we're doing a sort of third-party streaming platform thing. So we just wanted to check that everything works kind of before we hit with it. And the idea is to share some video and some photos while we talk. Should we wait for a few more people to join, Jordan?
Yeah, it's been like a couple minutes. Let's see what that is.
Right.
Oh, we have a lot of people here already. 14 people.
I can't see from this platform, so I'm just going to let Jordan do that thing, and I'm just going to talk. Hi, everybody. Hello. Wizards of Baking, episode 3. There have been 3 challenges. 3 challenges, and we have survived 3 challenges, Jordan, right?
Can you believe it?
Can you believe it? And so we thought we would talk a little bit about the Diagon Alley experience. What I will say is we put a little note up, guys, but if you have any questions, we're going to answer them at the end. We're going to just go through and discuss and ask each other some questions. So if there's anything that you specifically want to know, just type it down to us and we'll come back to it afterwards, okay? Hi, Lynette. Oh, it's so cool. We've got people joining us from Facebook and people from Instagram and also from YouTube, maybe.
This is great. Yeah, this is great. This is cool.
Really good. Yeah. Let us know if you've seen the show. Firstly, that would be helpful. I know for my UK friends and family, they have not seen the show, so this is probably killing them. But let us know if you've seen it. Let us know what you think. And like I said, if you've got any questions, then please just ask away. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna play a little bit of the beginning of episode 3, just to get you into the mood of Diagon Alley, right? And then we can talk about this. Now let's see if I can do this, right? Let's try. There we go.
Oh, look at that.
What, Jordan? Can you remember what that felt like, Jordan?
I mean, it was insane. The set's so cool. I think this definitely one of the coolest sets.
Yes.
Out of the 3, I think Green Gods is the biggest, but this one's really cool.
Yeah, like really detailed.
Yeah, extremely detailed. I mean, it's cool. So I don't know if you can't see it on the video, but it's like on a little bit on a downhill slant. I think to give it to this big, maybe on camera, to give it this, longer, bigger effect. But it's really, really cool, especially like all the different shops. I mean, even in the shops and the windows, there's so many different things. I mean, the details.
The attention to detail it's all there. So for us, it was really magical. So if it's a bit of a spoiler alert if you haven't seen episode 3, but we're going to assume, so I'm just letting you know, but we were given the bookshop, Flourish and Blotts. This was our challenge. I'm going to share some pictures. Let's see if I can. Oh, look, I've done them backwards. See, this is how organized I am, people. All right. So our challenge was the bookshop. And the idea is that we had to create 50 identical desserts, small desserts that could be eaten in a few bites, that represented the shop that we were given. They all had to be the same flavor, and they all had to have an interactive element. Is that right, Jordan? Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's everything.
That's everything, right?
Interactive.
So I'm just sharing. I don't know if you can see that, guys. There was just the sketch that Jordan and I did when we were given the brief. Do you just want to talk through our ideas a bit, Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, we had this big idea. I mean, I feel like in the movies you get this sense of endless books. So that was like the one thing we wanted in the beginning, especially to create something that looked like endless books. It would transport you directly into Flourish and Blotts, right? Like that was we didn't know we were going to be on Diagon Alley, like or where we were going to be, but we wanted to make sure that whoever was walking by our little station felt like this definitely belonged inside the shop itself. So, the stacks of the books, it's funny. We had a little scene in the episode, right? We both looked at each other and it's like, there's only one thing you can do in Flourish and Blotts, and it's make books. I mean, there's nothing else that you could do. At least when we thought about it and we try to conceptualize it, besides books. So that's really what we see here.
And actually, sorry, Jordan, just to cut you off, just to give some people some sense, like that's really, in terms of a small miniature pastry that looks like a book, that puts a lot of flavors in, like that's actually, it sort of seems really simple, right? Mm-hmm. But actually was deceptively complicated. So we knew that we had a challenge on our hands to get in all of the flavors that we wanted to, and also to tell the story. So for us, it was really important that we alluded to books from Harry Potter, right? So we decided to, originally we wanted to do 4 different themes, including the newspaper that sort of featured Rita Skeeter. But in the end, we actually just stuck with 3. We did, let's see if I can remember, we did Advanced Potion Making, Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration, and Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide to Household Pests, right?
I think that was another difficult part, right? That is fun to talk about now, right? Like we wanted to make books. There's so many different types of books, whether they're in the actual Harry Potter books or in the movies that are alluded to. And we chose to do 3, but again, that's the difficult part. We needed to do 50, but we chose to do 3 different styles or types of books, right? When we really could have just chose 1. But I feel like there's just so many options. I feel like there's so many options that we had to give a variety, but we also had to be smart, right? I don't think we could have done 5, right? But we chose to do 3, and 3 very different books to showcase just a little bit of things.
The idea was that I would create big books, which I would make out of chocolate. They were encased and then covered in chocolate and decorated and textured and painted. And the idea was that the books would be self-opening and reveal miniature books inside that were the edible treats. I'm just going to share this again. Let's just have a look. So in terms of the designs, and I don't know if you kind of could see this on screen, but we had 3. The blue one was the Advanced Potion Making, the red one was the Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration, and the last one was inspired. They were all inspired by Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide to Household Pests. We had to have an interactive element, didn't we, Jordan? On each one. Actually, should we play a little bit of video and then talk a little bit about the interactive element and then the flavors and stuff? Let's see if I can do this, people. Let's bear with me. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pastry chef's dream, this challenge. So this is something I guess I do on a more of a daily basis, right? Make a lot of desserts for a lot of people.
This is your element. We've got the Flourish and Blotts bookshop, which actually I'm pretty pleased about. Although there's only really one thing a bookshop sells.
Just a bunch of books.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an extraordinary moment this is. When young Harry stepped into Flourish and Blotts this morning to purchase my autobiography.
It's a tough one, the book, right, Jordan? Like, we really
very tough one.
Brainstorm. It's got a lot of wood and a lot of paper, and so we thought it'd be fun to incorporate some sort of wood type flavors.
Okay, I'm pouring that
Ooh, that
now.
smells nice. So we're making miniature edible books and have an edible wrap and a binding around it. Everything's going to be stacked in layers with a lemon, olive oil, rosemary and thyme cake.
On top of that, it's going to be a gelée and then a limoncello lemon mousse. Then I have some limoncello, fresh lemon juice, heavy whipped cream, and some vanilla. It's going to have a little bit of punch. It's going to be unexpected. Being in the bottom 3 in the last.
I'm going to just pause it there, Jordan, because I feel like you need to talk about these flavors a little bit, because I feel that they were a lot more complex than possibly that we had the chance to kind of show.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I definitely credit to Zoe on, you know, bringing in the wood aspect, because I think that was a very difficult thing for me to conceptualize when you think about a bookstore and like what are the flavors in a bookstore, right? And then you think about paper, you think about wood, and Zoe came up with these, you know, 3 different types of wood, and I really try to conceptualize this dessert around that. But it was difficult. I think it was really difficult. It was one of those things, and we talked about it in our first live, where that's how we kind of worked with each other. It was, you know what, Jordan, let's try to do a sugar chandelier. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I can figure it out somehow. And I think this was another part of that in our relationship, was like, hey, I think woods is a great idea, and they actually correlate to some flavors that we use in pastry normally. So let's try to make a dessert out of it. And then, you know, we came up with these realistic books.
Yeah, so we had it was the olive oil cake came from olive wood, right? Which we flavored with thyme and rosemary. We had hi Holly. We had rose. We wanted to take the flavors of rosewood, which Jordan combined with raspberry and put into a gelée, like a sort of little sort of pureed fruit jelly layer, if you like. And then he wrapped the whole thing in lemon, again inspired by lemon wood, which he sort of spiced up with a little bit of limoncello. But then once they were all stacked, we then had to turn them into books. And the challenge for us was that they all had to be identical and they all had to have this interactive element. That was tough, right, Jordan? So we only saw actually on the episode just one of the elements.
Yeah, I think we chose to do one for each book that we decided to use. And I think, again, that was another difficult part. These books needed to be, you know, able to be picked up and eaten, not be too big, but also not be too small, because the design that we wanted to do, there's a lot to that. You know, the brushing of the pages and the wrapping in the chocolate. If it was too small, I feel like it would have been actually more difficult. So we had to make a decent sized dessert. And we ended up, you know, definitely working really hard to get these 50 books done. But we had the encapsulated sugar, which you saw in the episode, that we ended up putting a freeze-dried raspberry in. I think for the transfiguration.
Tasted like the best raspberry candy you've ever eaten, by the way. Like, I know Jordan did a pivot on that, because originally we wanted encapsulate gel, and we ended up putting in a freeze-dried raspberry, because we just didn't have the luxury of time to make what we had originally conceived happen. But that was super tasty. So that was for the advanced potions book, wasn't it? The little encapsulated raspberry.
Yes, kind of to mimic like a potion, right? And then the transfiguration, we chose to do like a transfiguration powder. So we had these like little vials, and you can maybe see them, that little like square box there on the that photo there, little vials full of like raspberry powder. Again, flavors that went well with the book flavors. And we asked these Harry Potter fans to, when they came and grabbed that book, to open that vial and dust it over the transfiguration book to, you know, start the transfiguration process. So we had a lot of fun with that one.
And you can see possibly that the idea with that was that the book was transforming from a book into a rat. So the book was beginning to be furry and had a chocolate rat's tail on it. Which also the very big giant book had as well. So that was that. And then the last one was Gilderoy Lockhart's book, wasn't it?
Yes. So we created like a bug spray, in quotes, right? Like a spray that we again asked whether it was the judges or these Harry Potter fans when they wanted that type of book to take one and spray onto the book. It was full of what was it, or like a rose water, just rose water actually. It was just rose water.
Yeah.
So we again able to complement the flavors that were actually inside the book. So nothing crazy, nothing different, but it enhanced that eating process and that experience.
Yeah, and it made it really fun because of that interaction. Like people were like, oh, we got to get rid of the pests on the book, and they're spritzing. And then can you imagine you're getting the smell? You're getting the smell of the rose water as you're cracking into the white chocolate, and then you're tasting all of those flavors. You know, I have to say, this was Jordan in his element. This was all of the pastry chefs in their element. And for, you know, so far, if you've seen the show so far, you'll see that we've made very big showpieces that where we throw all sorts of things at it. This was a very different challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was my favorite so far, right? Because it definitely was the pastry chef's dream, which I said, because it's something that, like, again, I do on a day-to-day basis. We make these, desserts for 500 people. We do things like this. I mean, obviously, this is like, we spent a lot of time on the design and what these look like. But it was enjoyable. It was fun. I think you're right. You got to see me in my element. You were able to do, different things, like making, right, the rosemary olive oil cake, and like making those things, and because you make cakes all the time. It just, in my little space, we worked like very methodically, and it was definitely a window for you, I think, at that moment, into my life a little bit, which I didn't think I was able to showcase yet, but I was able to during this challenge.
Yeah, and I have to say, just to the non-pastry chefs, because I'm not a pastry chef. I'm very proficient in the kitchen, but I've not trained formally in the way that Jordan has. But when a pastry chef of Jordan's caliber gives you a recipe and says, make it, it's really quite scary. I have to say, I don't know if the other cake artists had that sort of experience, but suddenly you kind of question yourself. You're like, oh, I don't want to mess this up. I didn't, though, did I, Jordan?
No, you didn't. It was perfect. Are you kidding me? It was perfect.
It was perfect. Yeah, there we go. So I remember being really tired, though. I mean, I think I'm probably going to say this. Oh, I know I've said this for the previous challenges as well. I felt it was tiring. This one was really tiring, wasn't it? And I think we had the added pressure of knowing that we were feeding 50 people. 50 fans were going to turn up, and that really added a pressure, didn't it? A little bit. I had a wobble. I had a wobble when James and Ollie kind of said, "Oh, that's what's going to happen."
No, I mean, I agree. It was excitement, and then it's, the Harry Potter fans, right? So we picked, 3 separate books, very well-known books. We picked a theme. We were part of Flourish and Blotts. Like, we had to do things. Again, it added that extra level of stress, and like, you need to do this right, because it's not only the judges this time; it's 50 other people that love Harry Potter more than anybody. Like, they're going to pick out discrepancies, whether it tastes good or not. I think this one, it's funny because, like, taste is always important, which we know. But with visuals on this, I think you're right. It added that extra layer of stress, because visually, these Harry Potter fans are going to be able to pick out and know exactly what we were doing. And if we didn't do it correctly, again, they would figure that out. So it was a little stressful. I mean, I think we had fun handing out our little books to and talking to other people rather than the contestants, or being stressed in the kitchen. I think it was nice to talk to some people.
We did. And what you probably don't realize, actually, but this was the first challenge where all of the teams were in the same space competing together. So up until that point, we'd sort of been judged in isolation. Well, not at episode 2 because we were up against Juan and Elizabeth. So you'd had these head-to-head battles in Challenge 2, but we hadn't really seen other people's work, right? We hadn't really seen what other people were doing, and suddenly we were thrown into this situation of not only we had all the fans, we were in Diagon Alley, which was super atmospheric. I don't know if anyone has anyone been to the Warner Brothers studio tour? I'd love to hear if you have.
Yeah, we'd love to know that.
What
Actually,
your thoughts are. But it's narrow. It's as you see it, right? In the movies, it's narrow, so you're kind of squashed in there, right? All of the teams, all of the desserts, all of the judges, all of the people, all of the fans, all of the cameras. You know, it was a lot. So we went from this kind of hyper focused, got to get these 50 desserts out looking amazing in the ridiculous 6 hours, which, by the way, sounds like a lot of time, and there are 2 people.
Never is.
I'm telling you, it's just nowhere near enough time, really, especially given the circumstances of working in an environment where you've got cameras in your face, where we're being stopped to be asked questions. And again, you don't necessarily see that, but the judges are asking us questions during filming. And that might not make it into the final edit, but that's happening. So you're constantly being distracted from what you're doing. So you go from this zone to then having to transport everything from the kitchen to the actual sets, which is a whole nother process.
We have a good question here. So were all 50 desserts eaten?
Yes.
You remember, Zoe?
Yes.
Ours were cleaned out.
Yeah, they were. So we had 3 big books that held, I want to say, what did they hold on?
Like 12. I think it was 12 in each, 15 or each. Yeah.
We had to replenish. And again, I'm not sure if you got this sense from the show, but we were told we had to pitch. So we're all down the streets, down Diagon Alley, and the fans come in and we have to pitch. So we have to kind of win them over.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's not like a given that they're going to come and they're going to eat. So, that was a bit nervy. So. We're opposite the snitches. Snitch is always everyone loves a snitch, right? Mm-hmm. So thank you, Lynette. Sounded delicious. It was delicious. So
that takes us to what? Judging, right? We have a
we do. Let me share this. I'm getting so excited. I want to talk to you all. Let's show the actual kind of judging process.
And remember, we didn't have a good last episode. That great of a last episode. So this is a little nerve-wracking.
Diagon Alley. So we have self-opening books.
Of course you have self-opening books.
Of course we do.
PTSD from the letter shooter.
There we go.
You have the magic touch.
The flavors are reminiscent of an old bookstore.
Always
so
the
origins of wood.
With the magic element.
So the flavors are rosemary,
every time.
We have a raspberry rose jelly.
Oh, look, there's
a limoncello lemon mousse. There's an encapsulated freeze-dried raspberry on there, so you can crack that open.
Carla actually
Get in there.
took the book with the spray,
The chocolate with the raspberry
Yeah,
and
she
lemon. These are
sprayed on
flavors
her.
that
She
work
took
well
that. No, she took the. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
And that's exactly what you guys have done here.
Thank you.
And then getting that herbaceousness with the olive oil cake. I love it.
Good.
Great.
I love the fact that she picked up on the rosemary and the thyme
Yes.
in that
important.
cake. And I have to tell you, everybody, because Jordan will be way too modest to tell you. And again, this wasn't shared, but so the judging of the pieces, it was the Harry Potter fans that came that actually voted for their favorite. And if you've seen, again, spoiler alert, I'm sorry, but if you saw it, it was incredibly close. Incredibly close. We missed out by one vote, before they announced that to us, Chef Joseph did say that it was the best olive oil thyme rosemary cake he has ever eaten. And it probably sounds like, how many has he eaten? But a chef like Joseph is a lot of that kind of thing. So that was huge, wasn't it, Jordan?
He did say that. I mean, it was amazing to hear that. That's in any of these competitions, right? Like having someone like Joseph say something like that about anything that you make, I think is, I'm going to obviously remember that for forever, probably. So it's a really cool thing. You're right. I'm too modest. I probably wouldn't have said that out loud. So thanks for saying that, Zoe. But it was cool. They really, really loved that. I mean, they had no negative comments about anything that we did. That was a part of those books. So, I mean, in our eyes, like between me and you, that was a good redemption
from the previous
story from the previous episode, right?
I mean, what I will say about our previous episode is that our flavors kind of really sung, and I feel like we've been really strong with our flavors, both in challenge 1, challenge 2, and challenge 3. But it all kind of came together. The concept came together in challenge 3. The flavors came together, and so that after a very, very stressful challenge 2 was much needed. There was a lot of relief in Team Hufflepuff. We've had a hello from Taiwan, Team Hufflepuff.
Oh, nice!
Can you see what I'm wearing?
I love it, and I got my banner that hangs up there.
Right.
It lives there now.
Go Badgers!
Go Badgers!
Go Badgers! So it was a good challenge, right? It was a good episode. I would love to all these badgers saying hi. I love it. Does anybody have any questions? We would love to, kind of hear what we've got to say. If there's anything you kind of want to know. I'm just trying to think. A couple of things that maybe were missed from kind of last time that we did a live. Jordan and I did not know each other before this weird Harry Potter experience. we were thrown together, and actually that probably one of the things that makes this, I mean, other shows have done that, but this is kind of quite unique in this situation, with quite a responsibility for a big brand like this, to work with someone that you have never worked with before. You don't really know what their Harry Potter knowledge is, what their working style is, what their personality, like, you just don't know any of that stuff.
And you start to, it's funny because and it's not even just this professional relationship that you end up, creating, right? It's not a pastry chef and a cake artist. It actually becomes a relationship where you find out a lot about each other, right? I mean, we're both, I think, are the same with our Hufflepuff traits, where number one, we had to talk to each other. We never stopped talking to each other. But we really got to know one another, right? Like, it wasn't just, hey, let's do this. We're doing this for 6 hours. Then we get judged, and then, whatever. Like, we actually got to know one another because it made it easier, and helped us really in the end, to create a long-lasting relationship, right? It was a fun time to meet someone and learn about them. Period.
It was a leap of faith, is what it was, Jordan.
Yes.
It was a complete leap of faith, and it was very much like when we found out that we would be working together. It was very much a case of, right, this is a bit like speed dating, so we're gonna have to cut straight to the chase on so many things, just to get those lines of communication working, because we have, each challenge we have a common goal, right? We don't want to go home at the end.
Home, right? We want to win. That's the whole thing. That's the point, right?
That is, yeah. So but that's hard. I've done shows before where I've been able to choose my team. So And I've done shows where it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Have you worked with people you didn't know before, Jordan, on a show?
Yeah. So actually, I've done. This is like the second. I would call it like a group thing, right? This is like the second show. So the first one I did it was Candyland. So the Candyland, the board game. There was a season 1. There's a 1 season of it. It was really cool. It's funny. This actually ties it in. It was with Kristen Chenoweth. So if anybody's gotten to see Wicked, great movie, by the way, you should go see it.
I haven't been yet. Is it worth going?
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. But Kristen Chenoweth was the host, and she was amazing. She was bubbly. She was really just an amazing character. But I was on there with 4 people, so it was almost like the Holiday Baking Championships, I was with 3 other people that I didn't know. Period. Which was, I think, a little bit more difficult, to be honest with you. That's 4 personalities that need to work together.
It wasn't a team leader or anything. You were all just in.
So what they did, how they did it in that show was actually every episode you had a different lead. So you had someone that either created things or like presented it to the judges or whatever. So you kind of did have a lead, but it wasn't a lead in the kitchen. So that gets a little hairy sometimes, right? If you there's a lot of proud chefs, so that's when it gets a little difficult. I mean, I love my teammates. We all got along. It was great. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work that way. Like you said, leap of faith, right? Like sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
But this is the second time where I've had like.
Okay, so you've got a little bit more experience than we have.
I think that one was much more scarier, to be honest. That one was like, oh no, 3 people.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. 4 people having to agree, and we had to, the challenge, all the challenges that we've done, so far. You have to agree. You have to agree on design. You have to agree on flavor profiles. Both, selfishly, we both want to make sure that we're exhibiting the best that we can. Yeah. We want, right? Let's be honest about it.
You want to showcase yourself.
But equally, we're a team. We have to work as a team. We have to present as a team. And win or lose as a team, right? So you have to sort of have that. You have to have that attitude. And we live to fight another day, Jordan. We're off to the Forbidden Forest.
I know that one is. I think that one you're really excited about that one, aren't you? So
yeah. Yeah, I don't feel like I can't talk too much about that.
No, that's okay. But you're excited about that one. I'm
excited about that one.
Scares me a little bit. I'm a little scared, but that's just me.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot of it's really nice to be able to go to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're kind of cute, fun-loving Hufflepuff badgers. Yeah. We don't really, neither Jordan and I are the sorts of people that go to the dark side, really. But we get to go to the dark side next episode. So
this is a good question. A quick pivot. It says, "How is the experience behind the cameras?" And that's a good question, because that's. I mean, we've been talking about it really, but how is that experience really?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest, because that's what I am. I'm always honest. It's a real mix of emotions. I have done a fair bit of TV before, so I'm kind of I've had that experience of working with cameras in my face, and I think most of us had, and that definitely helps, right? Mm-hmm. That you kind of get used to just carrying on working while you're talking. Behind the cameras, it was tough. It was a really, really, really tough schedule. I think that's what was tough about it. We were working through the night. We, flown halfway across the world, kind of hit the ground running, didn't know each other, didn't know the format of the show, there were so many unknowns. You're running at 100 miles an hour. You have the pressure of being in a competition. I didn't know anybody. Maybe some guys knew some of the other people. I didn't know anybody. So you're naturally, when you start something like this, you're naturally a little wary, but equally you want to be open and honest. And I think what I will say is most people dropped their guard pretty quickly, which was really nice. So as a team, all of us, all 18 of us, as we were when we started, bonded together quite quickly. But make no mistake, ultimately it's still a competition. And so you're in this really weird headspace where you're trying to be present in the moment. I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot. I do talk a lot. I have to apologize. I will shut up in a minute, and Jordan can also answer this question. But you're in this weird situation where you want to be present in the moment. What we were doing was so flipping cool. So flipping cool. What an opportunity, right? To be where we were, to be hanging out with James and Oliver Phelps, and you know what I mean? Like all of these things was very, very, very cool. But there was a lot going on. You had to process so much information. You were coming up with designs and briefs and overcoming challenges and working with someone you'd never worked before, and equally having your game face on, but wanting to be just a normal, nice person and make interactions with other people. Like it was a lot. It was exhausting, and we were running sometimes 18-hour days, so there wasn't a lot of sleep.
And I think that's important that you say that. Like, it's the fight, not the fight, the in your head, like you said, it's so confusing. Trying to like make interactions and meet people, right? Because there's amazing chefs on the show, right? Like meet people that I would have never met in my life if I wasn't on the show. So meeting people, talking about the things that we love, but then also switching on that switch for competition mode, right? Understanding what's at hand, what we need to do, what we need to accomplish, and being that person. And then after off the cameras, trying to be the same person, but also not be like someone who like sits to the side and doesn't talk to anybody. It's just like you're right. It's like a very weird, it's a weird environment. There's a lot of emotions, especially on these long days. Like we talked about it. Gringotts was a very, very, very long day. This one was a very long day as well. I mean, if anybody's following along on the stories, Zoe fell asleep a lot of times. All right. She's got a lot of pictures of her falling asleep because we were tired. We were exhausted. So that affects that too. Right. So behind the camera, we're breathing, sitting, drinking water, trying to make light of
eating cold food.
Yeah, we were. You're right. That's right. We had
the dinner was cold by the time we got it.
We didn't eat it till later. It was long days. And then also enjoying each other, right? I think the family of Wizards of Baking right now, we all still talk to each other. We all created, I think, great relationships with one another, which is really cool. So, yeah. It's like it's kind of like a pressure cooker, but also you're right. You're in this like once in a lifetime opportunity on the sets of Harry Potter. Like you have to take that in too, or you got to find time to
you do
look around and be like, wow, this is insane.
It's funny. You're doing your work and your job and you're competing, but equally, and in fact, this was something that Jordan and I kept saying to each other is like, we kept checking in and kind of going, look where we are, look what we're doing, and I'm not sure it's necessarily kind of come across so far in what you've seen in the shows, but we laughed a lot. And
I laughed at everything Zoe said. These sayings of yours. I don't know.
Took the piss out of him is what happened. I did. But he was I was, yeah. It was funny. Maybe we'll see some of it, Jordan, but there were times where I would say certain things and he would look at me like, what?
Like really worried. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Literally just didn't. It was like I was talking, a language from Timbuktu. He just did not understand what was coming out of my mouth at all.
Chris is funny. Chris goes, we survived on Sour Patch Candies. Like literally though, like when we weren't eating, we were trying to get energy, and me and Chris, we would just eat these little packets of Sour Patch Candies. I don't know. I probably had 8 a night just to like get my mind moving. It was crazy. We did survive.
I can't see any because I'm on this weird platform.
Yeah.
I can't see any of the comments that are coming through. What I will say is that's Chris from Chris and Team Slytherin. Lovely Chris. We talking about like what it was like behind the scenes. Chris and I, we talked about going for a run in between.
No way.
In between the lack of sleep and the prepping and all the rest of it, we were like, no, it's like, we'll did we do it, Chris? No, we didn't.
No.
We thought we tried. We valiantly talked about getting some fresh air, but we didn't quite manage it, did we?
No, unless that never happened. There's no way.
Yeah, no way at all.
So Zoe, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
There's one thing that you want people to know about you, or like a little fun fact. How about we do this? Like a little fun fact about you that maybe is not like, it doesn't have to be baking related, it doesn't have to be cake related. It could be show related. Is there something that you could share?
Oh my God, talk about put me on the spot.
That's a hard question.
Put me on the spot. Ooh, what do you want to know? Fun fact. I started taking ice baths recently.
Whoa.
Like about a year ago. Yeah.
Oh, that's real deal. That's
yeah.
That's a great answer.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's cool.
And actually doing things like putting yourself in severe discomfort and putting
like the show.
Yeah, exactly. It sort of braces you for experiences like this, where you have to really just rein it all in. I will admit that I did have a time just through sheer exhaustion roundabout between challenge 1 and challenge 2, or maybe it was challenge 2, where I did cry. I did have a good 30 minutes sob in the hotel room because I was just so tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the ice bath mentality of just calming your nervous system, and that really kind of came into play for me during this. So, oh my God! So then you've got to do one. You've got to do one. You've got to do one.
What do I do? I like my I kind of like my little bit of my backstory a little bit, where I didn't want to be a pastry chef at all my whole life. That was not, I didn't grow up in my kitchen with my mom or my grandmother baking cakes. I never did any of that. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to build buildings. It's funny, when I was 4 years old, I would dress up for Halloween with a hard hat and a vest, and I would tell my mom that I wanted to be a worker. That's all I said. I wanted to be a worker.
Sweet. I can really see 5-year-old Jordan doing that.
That's all I wanted to do. That's what I want to do. I wanted to build houses. I don't know what I wanted to do, but I wanted to be an architect, whatever that meant.
So sorry, where did the pastry thing come?
So it's funny. I wanted to be an architect. It's because of my grandfather, and you guys kind of saw that a little bit in episode 1. But I started watching Food Network, which is, again, really crazy. And I fell in love with food, period. I just fell in love with these competition shows, whatever. I think it was Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I was watching all the time, just food. I love to watch people make food. It wasn't until later that I found out, pastry and culinary are two different things. So pastry to me, I chose that because I'm still an architect now, just in a very different medium. So my mind works the best, I think, for pastry. I love exact measurements. I love to create. I love to build. I like to conceptualize something and understand how it's built. These big show pieces, that's cool. That's fun to me. Understanding, and I know it's great. It's fun to you too. So understanding structure is important. And whether that's structure in a big build or structure in a little tiny
book.
Right? Those books, that was in my wheelhouse, not only because I'm a pastry chef, because I had to think about how I could make a realistic book that made sense. That's fun to me. So that's a little bit about my backstory. I think it's cool because nobody in my family is a pastry chef. nobody in my extended family is like, oh, let's talk about being a chef. Like, no, they're really excited for me because it's something that is so out there and random. But you know, I think it all happened for a reason, obviously. So
and I have to say that's one good thing. I don't know how people feel like when they watch shows like this. I mean, this Wizards of Baking is unique because you've got the baking competition side of it, which is huge in America. Like, you guys have so many more shows than we do in the UK. But also, obviously, you've got the Harry Potter side of it, which we all love, and we don't. You know, it's just nice to kind of see it from another point of view, really. But what these shows do is give people a window into just the level of work that goes into, well, not only cakes and showpieces and sorts of things that I do, but also maybe just some glimpse of what it's like to be a pastry chef, and how you guys work, all of you. And the hours that you work and the things that you have to juggle. It's, you know, it's a lot. I don't think you necessarily, when you go to a restaurant and you sit down and you order your pud, you don't necessarily appreciate what kind of goes into it. So, you know, it's kind of fun to be able to have this platform to share that with people. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think that's amazing for me, at least. And that's like, it turned into, it came all for full circle when I graduated college and I was 21 years old, and I got asked to do, spring baking championship, and I was 21, and I fell in love with Food Network, and it helped me become a pastry chef. And then it kind of came full circle, and I was on Food Network doing something that I love to do. That was really cool as a 21-year-old. So yeah, that's exactly what these shows do. It gives a platform for really anybody, whether it's a pastry chef, cake artist, a ice sculptor, a pumpkin carver, all these different little niches that people have. It gives them the opportunity to tell their story and to showcase themselves. And
hopefully to kind of inspire people.
Yes.
Like, I certainly didn't know when I was younger that these sorts of jobs existed, that you could do this kind of thing. I'm not sort of talking about a chef, but the sort of work that I do is very bespoke and niche, creating edible showpieces for events, for parties. It's pretty niche, right?
Yeah.
But it's given me the opportunity to do something which is very fun, and which I love. So so I can't see if there are any more questions. I suppose
I don't see any. I see
we should let the good people go to bed.
Yeah, I see. Let's go, team Zoe and Jordan. Woo! Let's go.
Well, we are back. We are back on challenge 4. There are 4 teams remaining. There's Jordan and I, the delectable Miko and Chris, Ron and Elizabeth, and also the gorgeous Lisa and Mitzi.
Yes.
And we are all creating. We've all been given a brief, which I'm not going to share, but we've all been given a brief that is around the Forbidden Forest. So
yes.
If you guys do have any questions, even if you we're going to try and post this as a replay, because there's a ton of people that can't watch it because of the time that we've done it. Send it. We'll love to answer your questions. And yeah, maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah, this is fun. I hope
too much.
Yeah, we'd love to hear feedback too, right? Like, if you guys love what we're doing, this is great, because it's something that we like to do, and we like to just be normal people and talk to each other and talk to you guys.
It's nice because we did just spend so much time hand in glove with each other over the summer. Yeah. I feel I slightly miss you, Jordan.
Yeah, I missed you too. I missed.
So give us the excuse to have another live, guys, right? Yeah, we can have a chat. But we really appreciate everyone tuning in, and we really appreciate the support and the love and all the good things. And
we'll see you in a couple of days.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Monday. I forgot it was Monday, honestly.
Yeah, happy Monday. All right, guys. See you.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.